You're listening to The Vidaurri Effect with your host, Rudy Vidaurri, owner of the Apex Predator MMA Gym in Rancho Cordova, California, co-hosted by Jennifer Steele. Now here's Rudy. It's on.
My name is Sensei Rudy Vidaurri. I am the owner and head coach of Apex Predator Mixed Martial Arts in Rancho Cordova, and you're listening to The Vidaurri Effect. Today I want to talk about the struggle. Something I've had to deal with over the course of my life and something that's made me a better man. But I want you to think about those two words, the struggle, and what they really mean to you. And whether your struggle is really worth it, because there's a difference between self-pity and struggle. And sometimes it's so easy to get lost in self-pity that you don't know which way is up. But if your struggle is real, I want you to embrace it. I want you to respect it. I want you to acknowledge it. Because that ultimately is what we're defined by. How we handle our struggle, how we respond to adversity. And if you're forged in adversity, it's the best kind of strength. You're unbreakable. So I want you to look at yourself right now and tell yourself you're unbreakable. And either you are or you're not. But if you have the balls to tell yourself right now, it's time to back that up and walk the walk. Struggle can mean a lot of things. Different people are impacted by different things in similar degrees. But if you really think about it, and you really think about what your struggle is, it doesn't have to be. Think about somebody else's struggle. By comparison, what's your struggle to theirs? Look at the people around you who are struggling. Chances are you're not alone. Because when you really think about it, you're probably not the first and won't be the last person to ever go through what you're going through. And if you have that perspective and you have that wisdom and that self-awareness in that moment, when you're feeling sorry for yourself, when you're feeling down and out, when you're feeling like there's nothing that can go right, I want you to think about how things can go very badly from there. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, embrace your struggle. Use it as a challenge. My challenge to you, my listeners, here on episode 3, is to really take an honest inventory of where you're at with your struggle, what it really means to you, why you're there. If this is something that you've put yourself in, is this self-inflicted wounds? Is this something that you've brought on yourself? Be honest with yourself. Because if it is, chances are if you got yourself there, you can get yourself out. And if somebody else has put you there, I want you to think about the things that you're doing and the people you're surrounding yourself with that are causing your pain, causing your struggle. Sometimes the only way is up. When things are going so bad, I've been there, trust me, believe you me. Lost my dad at an early age, dealt with drug overdoses and intense alcoholism after that, drug abuse, 2 felonies, jail time, lost my son, lost relationships, restraining orders, you name it. I was a mess, but all throughout it, I never stopped believing in myself because I knew I had what it took. Now, you're either one of 2 kinds of people. You're a finisher or you're a quitter. And I tell people in my dojo this all the time. But if you really are that badass to overcome life's lessons and the adversities that you're going to be challenged with on a day-to-day basis, you need to bring yourself out of the fire and into the light. Starting today, one step at a time. Now that you've identified your struggle, how you got there, who put you there, whether it's fair or not, you got to really think to yourself, is this worth it? Are the pains that I deal with, the things that I'm dealing with, worth it? Could be a relationship, could be a job, could be somebody that you are trying to help that is just not giving back. You extend the olive branch and they're just not doing their part. Now I want you to think about what you can control in your struggle, the things that you can get rid of, the things that you can change, the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. And I want you to change those things today. What's within your grasp you can change. The things that aren't fair, the things that you cannot change, you just have to focus on, visualize on, meditate on, and start to manifest good energies with and visualize those things changing and do your part. After you do your part, the rest will fall in place. If you keep the faith and you keep the good momentum. But today I'm sitting across from Jennifer Steele, great friend of mine. Once again, love working with her. And she's a person who knows a thing or two about the struggle. Am I right?
Yes, we've all had struggles, big struggles in our life, I think. You know, one of the things I had to deal with early in my career was a struggle to stand out at even being a woman in broadcasting. I got in at a time when it was a very male dominated business.
Absolutely.
And I had to struggle really hard to get a job and to keep a job and eventually, stay in the market. And it's been a struggle the whole way, but it's been worth it. And I think that's the key, right? If it's worth it, then it's worth the struggle.
Definitely is. Nothing comes without great sacrifice, great struggle. I've done some pretty cool things. This has been documented. I don't have to brag, but I'm very humbled by the opportunities I've been given. None of it would have been possible without going through a struggle, without having to be tested, and the challenges and the tests these days. I look around us, at this newer generation, and sometimes they're lost with the struggle, give up at the first sign of trouble, and once it gets hard, they tap, and that's not how I was raised. That's not what I'm made of. And I want everyone listening, including the newer listeners, I want you guys to take pride in the fact that you're dealing with something hard. Not look at it as a thing to be upset about, something to feel sorry for yourself about, or something to turn away from. So I want you to embrace the struggle, not back down from it. That's something that everybody needs to be comfortable with, is taking these challenges head on and not learning to run away from your problems. If you can stare trouble in the eye and overcome adversity and deal with life's challenges the way you need to, I guarantee you're going to be stronger for it in the end. Talk a lot about classrooms and life lessons outside of classrooms. I'm a college dropout, basically got kicked out, lost my swimming scholarship, fucked it all up. But I had to come back from that after my drug overdose and learn from it, become better from it. And I was able to come back, medaled at some big national world championship meets after that. Same with fighting. I had to take my lumps. I had to get beat down before I could come back and be my very best.
That's tough too, right? I mean, to come back from being beat down, just literally beat down.
And figuratively, yes.
Yeah.
It is not easy. But, all those times where I was down but not out, and maybe nobody outside of myself thought that I had a shot in hell to pull this off or get it done or come back and achieve the things I have in my life and be where I'm at now compared to where I was then. The disparity, I always knew in my mind I was already there. And yes, it was very hard, because when nobody else believes in you but you, that's a very lonely, dark place.
It is.
Yeah, I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah, we've all, I think, had those moments where you have to deal with certain struggles, and you feel alone. You feel all alone. And you have to find it within yourself, right? To step up and face it.
Very introspective. I think that soul searching anybody can relate to, but how you respond to it is ultimately how you're defined, as fair or unfair as that is. A lot of people will be remembered ultimately for how they faced their darkest hour, not necessarily how they were riding their highest cloud. I'm a big Jags fan. I always talk about them on the show. I look at this season, the team starts 3-7, had the worst record in the league last 2 years, finishes on a 6-game winning streak and wins the division. Nobody outside of Jacksonville thought they had a shot, but they believed in themselves and they won, and then they won a playoff game. And if you look at yourself, however you are, a sports fan or whether it's your own struggle, but if you can learn to be inspired by people outside of you and look at either me or look at a team that maybe you follow and try to learn from others' examples of situations that otherwise seem dire, and where somebody was completely counted out of a race or completely, written off, and then was able to overcome insurmountable odds and pull off the greatest comeback in history. I want you to think about that process. You guys should be thinking about your own process right now. And it doesn't have to be some insurmountable lead that you have to overcome. It can be something that you guys just make realistic for yourself, one step, one day at a time. And that way it's not so overwhelming. Think about what you can do. And whatever it is you're dealing with that you can do that's within your grasp, make it manageable and look forward to it. Plan it a little bit. I'm a guy who likes to wing it, but if you guys can start to set on a calendar daily manageable goals, that's something that also in the back of my mind helped me overcome when I was not doing so well and get out of that dark space in my head and ultimately move forward in life. I think when you have something that you can look forward to every day that's going to help you monitor your progress and it's going to help you take a step forward in that respect, it really gives you the energy to keep pursuing it and keep the drive to keep the fire alive to move in the right direction.
They always say to visualize, to write things down, write down your goals and look at them all the time because it does help. It makes a real difference. It does.
It does, and when we were drawing up the outline for this thing, here I am winging it again. But one thing I do remember now that you reminded me, thank you, Jen, is that I was once training at Pound for Pound Boxing in L.A., Terry Claybon's spot, and I was assistant to a guy who was a Gracie black belt, and we had a good thing going there, and I was training really hard for my fights, and basically Terry had celebrity clientele, and none other than Denzel Washington was one of his top clients.
That's cool.
And I was in there training one day. I just beat the shit out of like 3 guys in a row. I'm exhausted. I'm beating myself, and I'm just laying on the mat, exhausted and, feeling it from a good day's work. And all of a sudden with my eyes closed, I'm just kind of sitting there meditating to myself, visualizing. And from the corner of the cage, I hear a voice say, "That's right, visualize." And I'm sitting to myself singing, who the fuck is telling me to visualize right now? I'm exhausted. I'm in no mood. All I can think about right now is getting a burrito and getting the hell out of here. And I open my eyes, and Denzel Washington has his arms draped over the cage, and he's looking down through the fence at me. And when somebody like that speaks to you, you pay attention.
Yeah.
So he tells me, none of what I achieved in my career would have been possible, first of all, without the grace of God. But also, if I never saw it happen first, it never would have happened. I visualized everything I've done, and I saw it all through, and now it's happened. And that always stayed with me. It always stayed with me, not just because of a person of that character and a celebrity of that magnitude. The celebrity thing didn't really mean anything to me. He was a great person to me. And, but having that kind of advice and seeing somebody who did achieve great things and greatness and had an illustrious career and was wildly successful, was to hear that was powerful. And then, it always resonated with me. And I never lost sight of that, no matter how bad things got after that, because I still dealt with things after that. I still had, troubles and problems and things that I had to overcome. But I always saw my way out of that. And none of it happened without me seeing it happen first. And to this day, I see things happen. I'm almost kind of like a Nostradamus, so to speak, that I can kind of see it happen before it happens. And I'm kind of intuitive in that way. But yes, it's wonderful to have people that can help, assist and provide you those little tidbits of energy and boost your confidence, and then also just a little bit of encouragement here and there to keep you on your path.
I think it's good to look for those people, recognize the people around you who can be a good positive influence in your life, like you with your students. If you're a student listening, you have an excellent coach to learn from.
Thank you. And you guys have an excellent person to listen to on the radio. Just her energy is infectious alone. And the thing to remember too is that you also have to understand, just because you start to make up your mind and do the right things and take the right steps in the directions you need to get away from your struggle, doesn't mean there's not going to be bumps in the road. Doesn't mean there's not going to be setbacks. Doesn't mean there's going to be things that aren't going to try to hold you back, or tests or other little challenges that are thrown at you just to see how bad you want it. There will be people, there will be haters, there will be people that are jealous of your own self-improvement that will try to sabotage that for their own self-fulfilling bullshit purposes, because they're resentful, jealous, and hateful people deep down that aren't happy with themselves, so they have to try to nip at the heels of somebody who's doing something for themselves. And you have to think about those people in your life. Get rid of them unceremoniously. It's fine. See you later. You're not doing anything for me.
Yeah, it's hard maybe to do sometimes, to let go of those, but I think when you do later, you look back and you're like, wow, I should have done that a long time ago.
Life is too short to sit around bullshitting and wasting your time with people other than those who are going to help you achieve and get forward. And I'm not talking about being selfish and being a user. You have to be generous, you have to be a giver, and you get a lot further by being a generous person and putting others first. But if you're sitting around thinking, why the hell didn't I do this sooner? It's for a reason. And as I get older, I swear, the mistakes you make in life, it's harder to hit the reset button. It's harder to overcome. It takes much longer, and time becomes more valuable. And it's kind of like this double-edged sword where in the beginning you think you got all your years in front of you. You think you got it all figured out. You think you can fuck up your whole life, and then somehow you'll be able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, or you get a second chance. I'm going to tell you right now, there are very rare situations where you get second, third, fourth chances in life, and so you have to make the most of those. And if you're already in a chance right now where you know it's not the right chance, you need to eliminate that and take your chance with something else.
You know, we say all the time, too, that it's so easy today to get lost in video games and social media and things like that. And I think when you get lost in that zone, you're obviously not looking for the other positive things in your life to take hold.
It is definitely mind control, and these things are by design. And it's something that you have to break the cycle of, because otherwise it's too easy to get caught up in what others, like it's really just these chains around your mind. And, and when you can have the self-awareness and kind of like wake up out of this funk that is right now with everything that's become media and iPhone culture and tablet this and phone this and constantly being locked into this general, everybody's just kind of walking around like zombies, and it really is a struggle to be an individual sometimes, and snap out of that and be an individual thinker, because sometimes your struggle is not necessarily that you're not capable of something, but just that you're caught up in the crowds and amongst the masses, and you don't realize your potential because of that. And so I think sometimes it's just having a different perspective, talking to somebody else, stepping outside your comfort zone, or immersing yourself in things that are different for you, showing yourself new cultures, new foods, new books, new music, new art, new martial arts, new disciplines, right? New sports, thinking outside the box, because those are really the things that are going to help you get a good, firm idea of what it is you really want in life. I think probably the most important thing to remember in the midst of your struggle is that some good will come from it. And I think that's probably the hardest thing to do, is have that kind of realization in the middle of something that's catastrophic or otherwise very painful. It's easy to lose sight of, but I can honestly trace back to every struggle I had something that came good from it, including all the things that I've considered my greatest achievements in life. And when you're able to map it backwards and look at the things that help propel me into those situations, it wouldn't have come without struggle. So I want you guys to, instead of thinking about how this is breaking you down or how this is holding you back or otherwise damaging a part of your life that is important to you, I want you to think about how this could be opening a door for something that is better. And sometimes in the moment, it's hard to look at it that way because you're looking at something that could be or should be good for you and that it's not working out. But sometimes, as cliche as this may sound, is that things happen for a reason. Until it's lights out, game over, you're not breathing anymore. You have to look at it that way, and you really have to believe that, because it will come full circle. You got to keep the faith.
You do have to keep the faith. I mean, even in little situations, like I just dealt with a big virus that attacked my throat and my voice, and I couldn't work. I mean, I work on the radio every day, right? So it was a real challenging situation for a little while. And to keep your chin up and to keep moving forward and trying to do other things to keep yourself going in the meantime till you can get back to what you want to do is all really important too. There's a lot of things I think you can do on the outside, on your work on yourself, little things like that all, will help you when you're trying to deal with struggle, for sure.
Oh yeah. And to keep a smile on your face, that's the one thing. I always have had a positive, upbeat attitude. And sometimes, people talk about faking it till you make it, but none of it necessarily was fake. I was just so happy to be alive after some of the early situations I dealt with. And I think once you stare death in the face, you really kind of understand that the true meaning of every day above ground is a good day, to quote one of my favorite movies, Scarface.
My grandfather used to always say, anytime I wake up on this side of the grass, I'm good.
That's right. That's right. And that's really the end game, is just to find, happiness and comfort in the little things in life. Because if you think that your struggle is because you don't have the next best car, BMW, whatever class, or or the next new iPhone or this or that, and you're constantly living your life as a means to an end, chasing that gratitude that you think you're going to get from that gratification, I should say, instead of having the gratitude to be alive, and really just understand that there's beauty in all the things around you instead of looking at the misery and the things that you don't have around you. It's a great lesson. And I think those who have stared death in the face really understand what it means truly to let that which does not matter slide. And that's to quote another movie I love, which is Fight Club.
That's good. we all have things we can improve on. I mean, about ourselves, And I think one thing I hear from you a lot, and it resonates with a lot of people, I think, is that you have to want to be better. You want to make yourself better.
Oh yeah.
We can all do that.
And the very epitome of why I do this is for self-help for you guys, and in a lot of ways this helps me, as I'm sure it helps Jen too.
Oh, yeah.
Just we are not perfect. We have our own struggles. We have things that we have to overcome and deal with, but it doesn't mean we don't have the right approach about it, the right attitude about it,
right,
and the strength to deal with it every day. And once you become that strong where nothing can penetrate the outer boundaries of what is your rock hard shell, doesn't mean you can't be vulnerable, doesn't mean you can't, have moments of vulnerability, but when you get to that point, almost anything seems possible. And it's kind of like, yeah, bring it on, let's go, That's a fighter. Another thing, don't let somebody else's struggle become your struggle. A lot of times we care. A lot of times we care too much. But it doesn't mean we also need to inherit somebody's pain. And people that really love you won't put that on you. They won't put that burden on you because if they care enough, they're not going to project that onto you. So it's really important. No matter how much you care about somebody, you don't have to shoulder the burden of their pain. And a lot of times we want to help. We're people pleasers. We want to step up for people. We want to save people. I'm a guy who sees a snail crossing the path and I'll pick it up and put it in a place where it's not going to get stepped on.
Oh, you do with snails?
Yeah, with snails.
I wish I could say I would do the same thing with a snail.
But, there's been plenty of situations where in life, the proverbial snail,
You're right.
Sometimes you just can't pick every snail up.
That's true. You can't.
And you got to tell them to get their snail trail the hell out of there.
Take it on down the road,
yeah,
snail.
On the road, snail. Yeah, so, it's just words of wisdom, and these are my experiences. Take from it what you will. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. Hell, if you're into snails, more power to you.
Yeah.
But, I'm just trying to share a few things that have helped me get by and survive and do it with a smile on my face and stay happy. Because really in the end game, the struggle is about finding happiness. And really that's what life should be. It shouldn't be about anything other than getting through the things that are hard and be happy. I think that's true wealth. People talk about money. People talk about fast cars. People talk about all these things that can come and go. But in the end, are you really happy? And I want you to think about that. And if you're not, then you have to do what it takes to get there. One step at a time, one day at a time, one round at a time. Step up. Do something different. If what you're doing isn't working, then you need to change it up. The very definition of insanity is doing the same shit over and over again and expecting different results. Now, that's not rocket science. But if you're your own self-sabotaging person who's holding your own self back, then you got to think about what your process is, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And if you know you're doing things to hold yourself back and to sabotage yourself, then why are you doing that? What's your pain? Ask yourself those things. Get to the root of that. Get to the root of why you create your own struggle, why you mess your own stuff up, because you don't have to. Deep down, you need to be able to look at yourself and know that you're worth it, that you matter. And if you start believing that, then all of a sudden you're going to start treating yourself a little bit better. A little self-esteem, a little self-respect go a long way. That helps you respect others. That helps you treat others better, And then in turn, that helps bring everything back full circle to where it needs to be. One constant movement in life, not short movements, not different days, not different windows, but everything flowing together. And once you find that harmony, it's a beautiful thing. I could die happy because I know that I've seen and achieved and come back from some of the lowest depths in life to be happy and to really be honest about that and look at myself in the mirror every day and be proud of the man I am and the things that I do and be lucky enough to do what I love every day and have a smile on my face. Not faking it till I make it. I made it. And I'm happy about it. So clean slate. Start your life over today if it's not what you want it to be. If you're struggling, cut it loose. Do something new. Kick some ass. And stay blessed. Find this episode and future episodes of The Vidaurri Effect at thevidaurrieffect.com.
The Vidaurri Effect is a Steel Voices production, recorded, produced, mixed, and engineered at Cat House Studios by Jennifer Steele. Hosted and created by Rudy Vidaurri, owner of the Apex Predator MMA Gym in Rancho Cordova, California. More info and full episodes available at apexpredatormma.com, steelvoices.com, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening to The Vidaurri Effect.